just when you thought Nebraska might wake up from a nightmare of a season with a win over rival Iowa, a block punt brings them back to reality in their first 9-loss season since 1957. Iowa 28, Nebraska 21. As they entered the fourth quarter, Iowa was trailing 21-9. William Pristup was back to punt. Iowa brought everybody. They brought a lot of heat. They brought 9 guys, from my count, maybe it was 10, and they got to him. Pristup had the punt blocked. They caught it in the air, returned it for a touchdown, 21-16, and the meltdown, and it was a meltdown, was on. Iowa got a safety 2 drives later. Logan Smothers, who played a beautiful game for most of it, but struggled in the fourth quarter. Iowa got a safety to cut it to 21-18. Smothers had a fumble, a costly fumble. Iowa was not able to convert that into points, but they were able to get a field goal on a subsequent drive to tie it at 21. Nebraska couldn't move the ball. Iowa got it back. Tyler Goodson penned in a lot of the day. They were able to keep him kind of, trapped a little bit. But then Tyler Goodson gets free, and he makes a really big run, a 55-yard run. He's a really, really good player, and he had a great day. And he's able to break a 55-yarder. That sets up an Iowa touchdown, 28-21. And just like all the games this year, folks, just like all the games this year, where Nebraska had a chance to tie it at the end, down 1 score, they don't do it. Logan Smothers gets him down inside, I believe, the 30-yard line, throws an interception. There was a miscommunication between him and Levi Falk, and a miscommunication, and it cost them, let's be honest, the football game. Nebraska loses 28-21. The crowd that you heard cheering was Iowa's fans for the Iowa football team, which has yet another 10-win season. Nebraska has a 3-win season for the first time since 1957. Special teams, again today, the culprit. The block punt switched the entire mood of the stadium. Smothers, who had been so good all day long with a blend of option and throwing the football, suddenly kind of froze in that moment. Right? He had 2 turnovers. Those were costly. The fumble and the interception. Nebraska's defense already down JoJo Dome and Damian Daniels and Deontay Williams. They just kind of wore down. They kind of wore down against Iowa's run game, and Iowa was able to surge ahead late, and then their defense does what their defense has done all year long, intercept a pass late. The Husker season ends at 3-9, and for all the comments about Scott Frost needing to find an offensive coordinator, sure, but a special teams coordinator at this point looks a lot more important than an offensive coordinator. Let's be honest. Nebraska's special teams cost them multiple games this year. It cost them this game. It cost them the Michigan State game. You can argue it cost them the Oklahoma game. You can argue that it cost them in some ways the Ohio State game and the Minnesota game. If you accumulate it and add it all up, you could argue that it's cost them 3 or 4 wins this season against good teams. And if they just win one of those games, the momentum that they could take from that could be significant. But they don't, because they have the worst special teams in the Big Ten and arguably the worst in the country. And it has been bad for many, many years. And that's on really nobody except the head coach. That's the thing that he's going to have to fix really quickly. You can bring in a new fancy offensive coordinator who does all the things you want him to do, but at the end of the day, the special teams are not good enough at Nebraska, and it cost them a game again today. The plan early was really, really good. They ran a blend of option. They had play-action passes. They had Iowa on their heels. Up 21-9 going into the fourth quarter. Totally controlled this game until the end. Until that block punt, until everything changed after that. Nebraska goes into a very tough offseason very quickly. Got to do recruiting, got to hire the coaches, got to get kids to stay and believe that this thing's going to turn around. And I'm telling you, you can get the best offensive coordinator in the world, but if you don't get a special teams coordinator in here who these kids believe in, man, I don't know. I don't know if you're going to be able to convince a lot of people to stick around. So maybe that special teams coordinator is just as important at this point as the offensive coordinator. We'll see. Nebraska loses again. 28-21. The Heroes Trophy goes back with Iowa for, let's see, 7th straight year. Iowa's won 7 straight in this series. And this is the one that they probably shouldn't have won at all. But a block punt changes the game, and Nebraska goes home a loser again. Tough one here on Black Friday. Beautiful day. Nightmare ending.